He's like, who agrees with this?
So,
Well, I mean, that's another game we could have.
I went with beef, pork ribs, everybody else gets pork.
They're always gonna.
A dry rub versus all that should solve
It's so funny.
I guess the judge is like, the sauce.
Sometimes I was like, what? You go, that makes sense. And other times you're like, you fell off. Why didn't you?
Yeah. It's pretty funny because, Chris told him, I was just like,
Mayor,
3 or 4 rides
Steve,
right around me at all.
I did get an email from Ryan saying he wouldn't get better tonight, but Chuck's coming in his place.
It's just fun.
so,
I eat more of it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I bought like 60 cans of beer.
Do what?
we're talking
Everybody else
chat,
bought
I said, hey,
like
sometime, you know, let's get to like 4:30, and I said, so I saw him, I was like, hey, this is me. I've been working with this since
Here, Chuck.
and so
No, it was one of
Here,
the
Chuck, what do you see him like
I was
that?
like, yeah, he was telling me about you. He
But
said,
it was all of us
cool,
guys.
because I'd always be like,
Go up there and
who sings this song? I was like, I don't know. And I go, you need to know this stuff. What are your parents doing? Who did this? You know, I didn't know who he was. I was just messing with it.
BS starts going.
So it was kids later. That was pretty cool. And I was like, next time I come here, you don't know who sings this song. So I'd come back the next time and be like, what do you got for me? I didn't do it. I don't know.
I just took my girl and
Right.
You know, this kid's like 20 years old.
What were you asking? Like 60s music?
80s.
Oh, 80s.
Yeah.
it was fun.
So it was
That's
pretty
all.
funny.
It was meant to be.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, that was my last thing. That was very cool.
Yeah.
It was the Mason way.
Yeah.
That's funny.
say if I get all my neighbors to do it. Yeah.
All right. 7 p.m. Central Time in Gardner, Kansas. I'm going to call the Gardner City Council meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We have no presentations this evening. We do have a public hearing to review public input or receive public input regarding the amendments to the fiscal year 2020 budget. We have actually 2 public hearings this evening. The first one is the amendments to this year's budget. The second one is to review or to receive input from the public on the proposed 2021-22 budget. So we'll start with the first public hearing on the amendments to fiscal year 2020. I'd like to have a motion on that public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Melton, second Baldwin, that we open the public hearing to receive public input regarding the amendment of the 2020 fiscal year budget. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Public hearing is now open. If you wish to come forward, please state your name and address for the record. Limit your comments to 5 minutes. No profanity, no personal attacks. The mic is now open. Seeing no one coming forward, I would like to have a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion Gregorczyk, second Melton, that we close the public hearing. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? The public hearing is now closed. Move on to a public hearing to receive public input regarding the proposed fiscal year 2021-22 budget. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Melton, second Winters, that we open a public hearing to receive public input regarding. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? The public hearing is now open. If you wish to come forward, please state your name and address for the record. Again, no profanity, no personal attacks, limit of 5 minutes.
Just slow down there, people.
Rush to the stage.
It's like a rock concert.
Seeing no one coming forward, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Will you tell me to be quiet?
Baldwin, second Melton, that we close the public hearing. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Public hearing is now closed. It's time for public comments. Members of the public are welcome to use the time to make comments about city matters or items about the agenda that are not part of a public hearing, which means you can't discuss the budget because you just had public hearings on both this year's budget and next year's biennial budget. If you wish to come forward, state your name and address for the record. No profanity, no personal attacks. The time limit is 5 minutes. If you wish to come forward, the podium is now open. Is there anyone who wishes to come forward? Seeing no one coming forward, let's move on to the consent agenda. Is there any member of the council who wishes to remove an item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Melton, second, Winters, to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, any abstentions? The consent agenda passes. Nothing on the planning and zoning consent agenda, and nothing on committee recommendations. Old business item number 1, consider adopting an ordinance amending provisions of chapter 13.35 of the Gardner Municipal Code relating to inflow and infiltration of fats, oils, and grease discharge programs, also known as FOG. Gons Garcia, any updates for us?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Last 2 weeks ago, we presented an ordinance to include the infiltration, infiltration program in the FOG program. During the discussion, the item regarding fees came up. There was a lengthy discussion. So in order to resolve that issue with the fees, the ordinance was modified on page, excuse me, I lost my place here. Yeah, on page 14. So regarding fees, what it was cited for the four fees that were proposed is the wording that says that the fee shall initially be set by the governing body by resolution and shall be applied for each plan required to be reviewed. That's for the first one. Then the operating fee in a similar wording says permit fee shall initially be set by the governing body by resolution, and the same with the other two fees. So right now, we will implement the program, and then based on what we learned, then we can come in a year or so and recommend a fee for the four fees that were presented.
Great. Something that satisfies everyone on the dais?
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's just not forget it.
yes. Well, I'm sure that the,
I won't forget.
I'm sure they will be coming back for review. I'm sure the staff has that on their calendar to do that, so. Thank you very much, Gons. Any public comment on old business item number 1? Seeing no questions for Gons on the adjustments, the changes, or members of staff?
Just, if I may.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, I just wanna, clarify, does this solve the problem for, to me, it seemed like it wasn't fair that, new businesses were then yearly checked, whereas old businesses that were grandfathered in did not have to be yearly checked.
I don't think that's the case.
Okay, that's not the case.
Yeah, I think everybody's going to be.
With the implementation of the FOG program, every food service facility will have to go and see their system they have, monitor and see if their existing system meets our criteria.
So no one's grandfathered into this?
It's grandfathered in the sense that we don't have to make any immediate changes.
Okay.
But if we find out that their system is not preventing fog from going into the sewer system, then they have to make a revision, or they have to upgrade their system.
Okay, so then will new businesses that have this checked, will they have to pay a new fee each year for it to be re-inspected?
Remember, that will be
But what
decided
any fee?
next year, if what will be the applicable fee to do that re-inspection.
Correct.
So that could be zero.
It could be zero, or it
Okay.
can be some X number.
Okay.
So there's a trigger there for everybody.
Yeah,
Right. As long as it's applied across the board, that's all.
Yes, sir.
and I think that's what we're looking for, is that equal application. I think there was a question as to whether or not we were treating new different businesses differently than existing
Yes.
businesses. I don't think that's going to be the case going
Okay,
forward, so.
fair enough.
Any other questions?
Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you very much, Gons, for the adjustments. Again, thank you also to legal counsel for their input. Appreciate that. Hi Chuck, how you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. Sorry I'm a little late. I left my mask in the car only to realize that I had unknowingly parked in a disabled spot. So I did both.
That's
Moved
all right.
both and
Glad to see you're here. Thank you very much. All right, I will entertain a motion on old business item number 1.
Second.
Motion, Gregorczyk, second, Melton, that we adopt ordinance number 2668, an ordinance amending provisions of chapter 13.35 of the Gardner Municipal Code and adding additional provisions to the same chapter relating to infiltration and inflow prevention and a program providing for the control of fat, oil, and grease discharges or fog to the Gardner Municipal Code. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Winters,
Yes.
Councilmember Gregorczyk,
Yes?
Councilmember Melton,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Old business item number 1 passes. Thank you very much,
Thank
John,
you.
for your work on this. Moving to new business. New business item number 1, consider authorizing the execution of of an amendment to the existing contract with Central Square Incorporated for billing services. Amy Foster, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I come before you tonight to ask you to authorize the City Administrator to execute an agreement with Central Square to include a transaction processing piece for credit cards. We currently are partnered with Automated Merchants, which was a third-party vendor that contracted with Central Square. And as of December 31st, 2020, that partnership will no longer exist. So if we don't have something in place, we will no longer be able to take credit cards. We did do some research to see if we wanted to branch out and try maybe use the company that we are currently using or look at other options. However, to do that, we would lose the integrity of being able to automatically put that into our core billing software. And so by going with what they're offering, there's no cost except for our credit card swipes, which came to a total of $2,184, but no cost to recreate a website, no customer interference with the way we process. And we actually did $7.6 million worth of credit card transactions so far this year.
2,000 is pretty good.
Yeah, so we are here to, it's pretty much a house cleaning item is how we see. Ryan Dink has reviewed the contracts, suggested some changes and negotiated those changes, and they are included. So I did get his final approval Monday. And so I'll just turn it over to you. So if you have any questions or.
Great. Thank you, Amy. Appreciate your work on this and your staff's work on this. Any public comment on new business item number 1? Seeing no one coming forward, any questions from council for staff or legal counsel or Amy on this item? All right, I'll entertain a motion on new business item number 1.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Melton, second, Baldwin, to authorize the city administrator to execute an agreement, or amendment, I should say, to the existing contract with Central Square Incorporated to include Central Square payments provided by PAYA or PAYA Incorporated. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? New business item number 1 passes. Thank you, Amy. New business item number 2, consider adopting a resolution authorizing the execution of a cooperation agreement for the Kansas Housing Assistance Program. City Clerk, Sharon Rose. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I bring you a resolution for your consideration for the cooperation agreement with the Kansas Housing Assistance Program. Since the mid-1990s, Sedgwick County and Shawnee County, acting jointly, have sponsored and made available to all cities and counties in Kansas a statewide program allowing low and moderate income home buyers the ability to purchase homes with either reduced interest rates, down payment assistance, or both. For a home purchase to be eligible, the city or county where the home is located must pass a resolution authorizing a cooperation agreement with Sedgwick and Shawnee counties to make the program available to home buyers in that city. The city of Gardner originally passed resolution number 1315 on April 17th of 1995, authorizing its participation in the program. The firm previously responsible for maintaining the records for the program has closed its doors, and some of those records cannot be located. While the original resolution was located, the signed cooperation agreement was not. The best way to ensure the program is completely documented is to request jurisdictions with missing documents to reaffirm their participation with new documentation. It's important to note there are no costs or administrative duties or obligations from the participating cities. Entering into a cooperation agreement merely allows home buyers in that city or county access to the program.
Sure. Could you bring the mic a little closer? Somebody said that they couldn't hear you very well.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
So staff recommends adopting a resolution authorizing the execution of the cooperation agreement for the Kansas Housing Assistance Program.
Great. Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you.
Any public comment on new business item number 2? Seeing none, I believe this looks like just a housekeeping item, just keep our
Yes,
books
it's
straight.
just a housekeeping item.
Correct, it's been around since 1995, it's pretty ingrained in our code, so. Any questions from council on this? Looks pretty cut and dried. All right, I'll entertain a motion on new business item number 2.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Milton, second Winters, that we adopt resolution number 2056, a resolution of the governing body of City of Gardner, Kansas, also known as the cooperating jurisdiction, authorizing the execution of a cooperation agreement pursuant to the Kansas Local Residential Housing Finance Law, KSA 12-5219 at SEC, as amended, between the cooperating jurisdiction of Sedgwick County, Kansas, and Shawnee County, Kansas, or jointly the issuers, authorizing the issuers to exercise on behalf of the cooperating jurisdiction the authority and powers confirmed by the Kansas Local Residential Housing Law. With that being said, City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Gregorczyk,
Yes.
Councilmember Melton,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Winters,
Yes.
Resolution 2056 passes. All right, new business item number 3, consider adopting a resolution approving the 2021 to 2025 County Assistant Road System Program, or CARS, for road improvements within the city of Gardner, Kansas. Michael Kramer, good to see you
Good
on
evening.
Zoom.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
Super. So this is generally a bit of housekeeping. It is a 5-year program for cars, and the county, as part of their record keeping, they like to have the resolution passed annually with our projects. Of course, all of these projects, except for the 2024 project there, are budgeted in our 5-year CIP. Right now, we're still looking for additional funding for that 2024 project. And so as we get in those out years, we may move things around a little bit. Primarily, this is to be able to be eligible for that 2021 project, so additional funding for US 56. And the resolution is also written to match what was at the time of our CARS application, the existing project from Sycamore to Moonlight, and not the funding that we just recently received. So, and so we'll be, hopefully we'll be getting that additional funding recommended to the county.
Okay. Thank you very much, Michael. Just kind of hold tight there. We're going to open this up for public comment on new business item number 3. Seeing no one coming forward, any questions from council for Michael or city administrator or staff on this?
Michael, are you saying that 734,000, that we're looking to bump that up to 850,000 since we widened the scope of the project going forward?
No, so these applications have already, they were already done and into the county previously.
Okay.
And quite honestly, with the limited funding that the county has, I'm hopeful that we get this full amount that we've requested. It's a fairly large task as it is.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? I'll entertain a motion on resolution 2057.
Second.
Motion Gregorczyk, second Melton, that we adopt resolution number 2057, a resolution approving a 5-year program for road improvements for 2021 to 2025 within the city of Gardner, Kansas. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Melton,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Winters,
Yes.
Councilmember Reversick,
Yes. Resolution 2057 passes. Regular agenda is dispensed with. Now we move on to council updates. Does staff have anything for council? I'm going to start on my far left with legal counsel, city attorney.
No updates, no comments.
Okay. City finance director. Nothing tonight. City clerk.
As you all may be aware, we have an opening on the planning commission. We have received 6 applications. I have forwarded those applications on to the interview committee and will begin setting up interviews hopefully as early as next week.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Captain Crowd.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
All right, great. Michael Kramer, anything on your end other than the cars work?
Nothing this evening. Quite a bit of rain last week, slowed down our projects just a little bit, so hopefully they'll catch up with this beautiful weather we're having.
It is beautiful. You're right about that. Gons Garcia, with all the rain, I'm sure that we're having a much better situation with the water watch.
Yes, sir. Due to the excellent weather for the past several weeks, the water usage has been way below the water watch. At time we've reached below 2 million daily use, which we haven't seen that in many years. So if the trend continues, I would like to recommend how could I say this, ending the water watch next city council.
Sure. That would just be rescinding the resolution, correct?
Yes, sir.
So we could have that teed up for the meeting, the second meeting in August then. Okay. Let's get that on the calendar, yes.
Well, is there a reason we can't look at that tonight?
If it requires a resolution or an ordinance, it needs to be on the agenda.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Can we lift the water watch through just rescinding of the resolution?
Rescinding the resolution is requires a resolution.
Okay.
So that's the same act.
Okay. That's fine.
In practice, so absent going back, amending the agenda
Yeah.
to
That's
add that
not-
item, and then drafting a resolution.
We'll just go ahead and put it on the next meeting.
Okay.
Thanks, Chuck, appreciate it. Anything else, guys?
Yeah, one more thing. On the smart meters, to date, we have received 11 opt-out requests for a digital and 7 are medical.
Okay.
We have one case that I'd like to bring to the council's attention. The person is Mr. Lawrence. He provided us with a medical certificate, but it was signed by a chiropractor. According to the policy, according to the policy established by the city, he has to be a medical physician.
That's correct.
Now, he's saying that his doctor has a PhD in the medical field, and he thinks he's qualified to sign this certificate.
What's the certificate for, Gonzo?
This is for anybody that like a medical opt-out from the smart meters, which means that we will be utilizing a digital meter, but not a smart meter.
We can check on that. Under certain aspects of certain federal laws, a chiropractor may serve as a certified healthcare provider if the condition for which the individual is claiming the need for an accommodation or assistance, etc., is one that a chiropractor treats. So if the individual suffers from some musculoskeletal issue, a chiropractor may issue a certification of a healthcare provider in the same manner that a medical doctor may. If, however, the individual is claiming to suffer from brain cancer, chiropractor may not issue that certification.
That's very well put. I mean, that's how I feel about it as well, so.
Well, I mean, and that's the status of the law, so we'd be happy to review that for you, but it depends on the specific circumstances.
Okay, I'll send that information to you, Chuck, and then we can review it.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks.
I'll be happy to get to it, send it right back.
I was hoping for some scandal with Todd.
Nah.
No, people know.
He's scandal-free.
I know.
Okay, thanks, Gons. Is there anything else that you needed to share? Thank you. Parks and Rec, Jason Bruce.
No updates tonight.
All right, great. Looks like we're still moving forward with fall sports for now.
If I had a crystal ball, I would look into it and tell you definitively, but right now we're just waiting on information to come down from the state as far as guidelines to return to play.
Are we moving with the KHSAA guidelines? Because I've got a message that was sent to me via email that was concerned that we'd be following the KHSAA guidelines, which are they're leaning towards basically canceling fall sports, like
We
period.
are going to align ourselves with the Kansas Recreation Park Association return to plays, similar to what we did when baseball and softball started
Sure.
in the summer.
Okay. All right. I think that'll set some people's minds at ease in the community. They were concerned about that. So.
Yeah, we're trying to get as much information out as quick as possible, so
Okay.
we'll see what the next week brings.
Great. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, does council have anything for staff? I'm going to start on my far left with Councilman Baldwin.
In regards to the smart meters, obviously, Gons, we know who has a smart meter and who doesn't when they're all installed because of the system. But do we have any plans to address that going forward if somebody moves out that had an exemption and then we wanted to put a smart meter back on that home, or if somebody moves in later and wants to opt out, or are we only doing it the one time with the initial installation?
If we, excuse me, if we have a new resident, he will have to request an account. So at that point, we will look if he, at that time, we will see if he wants to opt out or keep the smart meter. I think that would be the point to do that.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Tori Roberts.
Well, I do have something, but I didn't know if the city administrator had an update. Did we skip
No,
them?
I don't have any.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Tori, for not
Thank you, Tori.
forgetting about Jim like the mayor tends to do.
So, not to bring up a bad subject, but do we have any new updates on the Super 8? Is the state still using that facility? Do we know how many people? I don't know if this is a city administrator question or a mayor question. I hadn't heard an update in a while.
Yeah, you want to address that?
I actually don't have any new information. Lee, do you have anything?
No, we actually haven't had any updates from them.
I don't know, I feel like maybe an update would be good. I don't know who would reach out, but could somebody maybe let us know?
Yeah.
I've had some questions. So.
Yeah, I do know that when I spoke with the folks from the county last week, I think there were like 2 rooms that were being occupied in the entire hotel.
Which I think is less than the first
it's
time. So.
Less, yes.
Okay.
Yes, again, it's non-congregate, so each individual who's there gets their own room.
Right.
Now, with two rooms being occupied, tells me there's 2 people at the hotel, and I can't tell you what the mix is regarding whether exposures versus infecteds, and to be honest with you, that's probably not in our purview as a community to have that information.
Right, I'm sure there's some sort of HIPAA laws or whatever.
We have to follow people.
Just an ongoing update might be
nice.
nice every once in a while. I've had some people ask.
I
so.
understand.
That's it. Thank you.
Councilman Jaworski.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I don't know if this question is, well, I think it's for Jim. In light of the 2 resignations and Mr. Powell's retirement, have we gotten in front of the planning commission to kind of give them a path forward or a point of contact, or how we interact with the vendor that's kind of our stopgap, or how are we handling that?
We haven't done anything in front of the planning commission. Bob Case has basically taken over as the chief planner. And the last planning commission, which was, I think, last Thursday,
Yeah.
he handled that. So
Okay.
we have hired a planner. She started last week. We
Oh.
have interviews, and then the director position and whether to fill it, who to fill it with, we should have resolution by the end of this month.
Okay.
And that obviously comes before the governing body.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Council President.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Okay. Council Vice President?
Yeah, real quick, you can pass those down. You take one. So anyway, I wanted to let everybody know, the mayor and Jim, and I think even Todd knew about this briefly. I actually had a meeting this week with Rhonda at the Gardner News last week, I guess, and talked to her about being the paper of record, and that's not related to this, what I handed out, so it's for later. So anyway, I talked to her about being paper of record, kind of told her, hey, look, if you can meet the 5%, we'd love to have you back. And then I had Matt send over all the specifics on the pricing structure and what it would be and what we're paying now. So, we were all on the same page with everything that was going on. I told her that if she was willing to do it, I would come in here and ask that we vote on her as paper of record. So she sent us an email today that basically said that she couldn't afford to print that, but she was willing to work with us on some advertising stuff. I think we should probably look into doing a little bit of that if we have stuff that needs to be advertised in the paper, and I just wanted to feel everybody out and see where we're at with that. So did you have something you wanted to chime in on?
Yeah, we still advertise.
Okay.
So we have not.
So what she was willing to work out some kind of a package deal. Well, you saw the email, so that's what we'll have. If everybody's in agreement, we'll have staff, work on that. So.
So what would be changing if we're already advertising?
She was willing to work out some kind of a package deal is basically what it was. So I don't know that she might have a better deal if we do more advertising. I don't know. She mentioned it. I just wanted to tell everybody I had been trying to facilitate that. So, so anyway, as of right now though, she said she cannot do it for the 5% over what we're paying the legal record. So.
Is that something that can be, I don't think that all the members of the body received that email.
No, but it would be because, that's why I wanted to mention.
Is that something that can be forwarded to the body?
Given that you're discussing it at this meeting, if you wish to forward to the body, and it is now an open record, so
Right.
make sure you send it to the clerk so that members of the public may have a copy of it.
I'll have the clerk send it out with a no reply all.
But it's been referenced, and so it is now
Okay.
an open record.
Yeah, I would like to have that forwarded to the rest of the members of the
Okay.
governing body so they have a copy of that.
So the other thing, I got a message about UTVs on the street again, and I don't know if we've ever covered it, but people are starting to ask about the side-by-sides on the street. If they have lights and all that stuff, they can actually get a permit that they can drive these UTVs around, and they're like Spring Hill and Paola and a lot of other cities are actually authorizing this. I told them I'm indifferent on it. I'd hate to see it going down 56 Highway.
Yeah, this came up when I was police chief. My understanding was that in second, third class cities that you could drive a UTV on the roadway.
Okay.
Correct. And we're on the cusp of a first class city. We'll probably end up having that coming forward to
After
the body within the next 12 months. So.
Yeah. But I mean, I can have Lee look into it and see what the specific state statute says, whether they have to be permitted or how that.
I think they did, based on the research that I've seen with Spring Hill and Paola, they all had permits, and the people are willing to pay permits to come in and drive them, so throw it in front of the body and see what we wanna do.
They have lights and turn signals and all
Yes.
that good stuff?
Yeah, they have all that stuff, it's just they don't have the airbags and all the other fun stuff, that windows, so, and
They're
then,
like big motorcycles.
yeah, right.
It does vary whether they can, even within the city, drive it on certain state highways, so.
Okay.
Question
Well,
about
we-
56, so.
Right, that was
Just
my
to be
concern.
clear with Mr. Prudick's response, while it's limited on your streets for a brief period of time, the city has the ability to regulate that. And I say for a brief period of time, until the city hits city first class.
Correct.
But many of the main thoroughfares that are state roads, they're not, it's a different, they're not permissible.
Okay.
So what is a UTV?
Utilitarian,
Like a razor?
yeah,
Yes.
razor, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not a golf cart or,
It depends on the society. There are communities that,
yeah,
Right,
with golf carts that do
yeah.
it.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
so, but that's,
Yeah, I'd like to see more information.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it might be that there's specific sizes of, displacement or something, just to make sure nobody gets in trouble, with going too slow on a road. So, the other thing was, I wasn't able to be here for our conversation last meeting about the roundabout at the school. And so what I'd like to see is if staff can work stuff, I know we talked about there were so many locations where there was roundabouts by the schools. I'd like to know how many roundabouts we have that are by a grade school and a high school, and then by those independently, because I think that's a big difference in what we have over there versus what is, what was kind of presented, because I think that's a combination that's really gonna present a problem at that intersection if we go with a roundabout there, because you've got all these young drivers, and I've been in roundabouts with older drivers that don't know how to do the roundabout. So with kids crossing the street, I was kind of worried too about if we're gonna need multiple crossing guards there, because I was there every day for dropping off Kaylin for over a year before she started driving, and that intersection's crazy anyway, with kids and the crossing guard and everything, and I just have this vision of a crossing guard on the other side you can't see them, and a car going around, and they're trying to do all this stuff, and these kids are focused on other things, and we've already lost one kid on that road, and I don't wanna have another one. So, but I'd like to see that if staff could present us with where those locations were, and if they were, I understand if it was just the middle school or just the high school, but by the grade schools, really.
Yeah.
Well, we have one at Grand Star and Trail Ridge right now.
Well, that's different though, because if you think about that one, there's no housing development across the street, so there's no children actually crossing that roundabout. They can actually go down the street and cross where there's not a roundabout. But where that roundabout will be, it will come right out of that neighborhood.
Well, you and I drive the same area, and I've stopped numerous times for a kid to cross the east-west, south side of the roundabout, but I understand.
But yeah, if you go down there, like when school's in
The
session.
students aren't driving at those two schools, and
Right.
there's new drivers driving at the high school.
Yeah, that's the one thing I really,
And we did talk about the crossing guards, and
Okay.
there's the potential to have the need for a second. But if you look at, I think they even reference Blue Valley, and to find another jurisdiction with a high school and elementary school right next to each other is gonna be difficult, and I know they didn't reference that.
I know,
So, I think the engineering firm relied more on traffic counts and times a day,
and I understand from that perspective, it makes total sense.
right.
But it's the other things that are
And I can
working
tell you that our fire chief is against a roundabout there, our school superintendent is against a roundabout there, so, I mean, that's a discussion that's worth having, whether we move forward with the design that we have people that are against it. And there are other things that we could do to improve the traffic flow there. Turning right only out of Madison during that half hour would improve traffic flow. Because the queuing problem into Madison is the big issue there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's other things we can do to improve it. It's just a matter of whether the governing body wants to support something that others are against, like the school superintendent, the fire chief. And I'm sure there's parents and others that just don't like roundabouts in general.
Well, I think it comes down to life, health, and safety, and what's the best solution for Gardner,
Right.
and not necessarily what, Blue Valley is doing. We're talking about 159th and Lamar, and that area around Blue Valley High School, and the roundabouts that are placed in there. But, we also have to think about we have to think about life, health, safety issues being paramount, so.
So with our, after our conversation last meeting, and we did have several schools in the presentation, we looked at quite a few others too. There's several, there's some in Lawrence. There's lots of roundabouts in Lawrence. There's one very near an elementary school. And so we did look into that. Since that meeting too, we've also discussed with the fire marshal, gotten their truck turning movement so we can model the truck radiuses going around the roundabout and ensure that, anything that, the truck would be driving on would be made for that. And Rich, you mentioned, being able to see, and one of the things we've talked about with our design consultant is, as we move forward designing it, we want to ensure that a car entering the roundabout can see across and see both legs, so that like a pedestrian would be able to cross safely. And one of the things about pedestrian crossings at the roundabout, they're kind of down the leg, so it's not trying to cross all the lanes of the roundabout at the same time. Right now, based on our conversation though, our design consultant is, starting to move forward with that concept and with that design. And so, if it's something that we want to come back and revisit, we need to have that discussion.
Yeah, I'd agree with, go ahead, Mike, I'm sorry.
Well, and, it does, it is, as far as the traffic, keeping the traffic flowing, and, since a signal is not warranted, it really is, looks like the best solution as far as keeping all the traffic moving.
Yeah, the comment I was gonna make is I agree with Councilman Melton, and I would ask that, could we maybe get a survey, Jim, like Danica and whoever Danica's counterpart is with the USD, and maybe do a survey of parents? Because really, Rich brings up a good point, but really we need to get some feedback from the community as to whether they, support that, considering it's tax dollars, et cetera. They're financing it, so.
Do we want to get that information though without them having the benefit of looking at the traffic study?
Yeah, I think the traffic study and the follow-up to Rich's points come first, and then a survey comes second.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think the work that the traffic engineers did was good work. I'm not trying to say that we should disregard it. What I'm saying is, and you're absolutely right, what we need to do is we need to give people the information and let them make their own minds up. And see what their thoughts are.
We can do that.
Thank you.
Okay. So my final thing is what I handed you guys, and basically, this is some stuff I'm gonna start out with something else first. I took the names off this because I don't want it to be about the who, I want it to be about the what, to coin a phrase from Randy. So, but we have a problem on a planning commission member who is initially tried to potentially put us and them in a pinch with some legal matters regarding staff. There's some stuff going on with previously, and it still continues with bringing up things happening with staff that are really out of the wheelhouse of even us as council members, right? So that was the first thing that caught my eye about this issue. And we've talked about that, Tori, and I've had conversations with the mayor that was really troubling. There was another instance at a meeting where a developer was on the Zoom meeting. Basically, this person tried to get, when the developer raised his hand on the Zoom meeting to say, hey, look, I didn't get a chance to, he raised his hand to speak before the presentation was over, and the chair didn't see it. Everybody voted, and then one of the persons said, hey, I think he did have a question. They went back. That person voted against allowing that person, that developer, to speak. When it was obvious, everybody agreed that yes, that person did raise their hand and we shouldn't have done that. So those were two real problems. And then with also being involved in personnel and really kind of, in this job, we're not here to protect our friends. We are here to do our job for the citizens. But it seems like this person is actually actively trying to do stuff to protect or their friends, and I don't understand it, who were employees. And then the final straw for me was some Facebook stuff. This is just a few things I grabbed. I took the name off because I don't want to shame that person. But these are things that I think, and I'll be the first one to tell you, I'll say crazy stuff on Facebook all day long. You guys know that. But when it's below my standard, there's a problem. And so I want you guys to take a look at this. I think this person, we need to remove them because there is a certain expectation when you're on a committee and you're on, when you're been appointed, that you shouldn't be saying these things. There's a lot of stuff, and the city administrator had to reach out at one point and tell this person, hey, these things you're saying are not true, and if you have any questions, reach out to me and we can get them fixed. And then she deleted the comments, because when you're throwing this information out there, especially like the stuff that happened yesterday, bringing up this public meeting, it's the very first thing I gave you. There was comments on there that were completely erroneous, and it causes people to send me messages and go, hey, why are you guys giving away all this stuff in the budget? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I get a screenshot. And then when this person finds out they're wrong, and then they're not wrong, I cannot stand to have somebody who does that, and it's clearly on purpose. Why you'd want to be involved with the city, first of all, and why we want them representing the city. This is not about anything, but this is the only time I've ever seen this happen with any of the people who've been appointed anywhere, in any capacity. I think we need to, as a governing body, be the employers we are hired to be and say we are not going to stand for this kind of stuff. Freedom of speech is a great thing, but it also comes with responsibilities. So, thoughts?
I'm gonna have to have time to digest this. As for your standards, I don't know what those are, but I think you
They're
hit.
pretty low.
I agree.
Okay, I guess we are in agreement, all right.
Well,
Yeah, Randy and I agree. Put it on the.
Absolutely, and you've exhibited that time and time again, but that's just my opinion. Because I think your point later in your statement is just that. I mean, First Amendment, and I do know that rights come with responsibilities. I get that, but I think I'm gonna have to take a look at this. This is all new to me, and understand exactly what's going on here.
So what, I guess I can answer your question if you have one.
I'll just have to look into it.
Anyone else?
The Facebook comments notwithstanding, right, that we could argue whether or not they can say what they want, right, all day long. Whether or not we want somebody appointed stating things that are, false is something we can discuss. But the first half of what you brought up is what's bothering me.
Which is the first half?
Not the Facebook stuff. The
right.
messing in personnel affairs.
Yeah, okay.
And basically shutting down a developer in the middle of a meeting. Those aren't things that I think are appropriate for somebody in that position, regardless of how they got there, or who they are, or how long they've been there, or anything else. So that's what's bothering me right now about this, is that that's not representing what we want as a city to be represented to the development community.
Now, I wasn't aware of that example you spoke to either, Mark, so.
Which one?
The hand raising of the developer, et cetera.
Oh, yeah.
I did watch that meeting, not real time, but
Right.
after, and
Which meeting
Yeah,
was that?
it was, I don't know, March,
It was the very first Zoom meeting for the planning commission.
April, and
Yeah, so
So Scott, basically the chair, had a problem with his iPad because it didn't show.
he did raise his
Yeah.
hand. I did see it. I think Commissioner McNair mentioned it.
Yes, that's
after the
exactly what
fact.
happened.
I guess I would be, I don't, to the Facebook thing, I don't comment like that on Facebook. Everybody has their own approach. I get it. I'm not rich, I'm not whoever, but everybody does that differently. I guess I'd have to see what rules, or we have to revisit whatever the planning commission, like, we have a rule of conduct on our, I would have to see that and see, like, what criteria is we have out there and how does it conflict or whatever. And I haven't looked at that in a little bit. Probably because when I was on planning commission, I wouldn't have probably put myself in that position, so I didn't necessarily, I read it and I understand it, but I'd need to revisit it.
Honestly, the Facebook stuff is the thing that kind of set me, like, this has got to stop. Okay, the other stuff, the involvement in personnel issues where we could all get sued. You got a text to ask something in a meeting that was potentially could have opened us all up for litigation, and we were lucky we caught it when we did and didn't say something. And then that's the real issue right here. I wanted to bring it up before, but I thought, well, I'm just going to let it go. But it's continuing to be a problem, and it's beyond that night when
I don't know what precedents we have. Have we, as far, I haven't been involved, but since 2009, I don't remember that there was a time that we let someone go, as far as I know.
I don't know.
I'm trying to
Not
find.
saying that we can't, I'm just saying, it's unprecedented. I don't know what
I'm
what
trying to
structure we
find
need
that
to
because we just
follow.
voted on it
I know, but
3 meetings ago. So I'm trying to find the.
I don't remember it saying, because I thought maybe this might be an issue, and I would have to reread it again.
Yeah, I think what happened was that there were some inconsistencies within our ordinances because of the fact that the master ordinance that created the citizen advisory committees had been modified.
And I think it was more to add the Board of Zoning Appeals on that last time.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe there was gonna be more to it, just because of some of the stuff that had been going on, and I don't remember reading it exactly that way, so I would appreciate if we revisit that.
I just found it.
Okay.
So if anybody has any other questions, go for it. I'll try to.
Nope, go on.
Okay.
Unless anybody else has anything to say.
We'll see what he says.
Okay.
1 second.
I don't think I remember it outlining behavior or that, but I could be wrong.
Well, I don't think there's anything for any appointed personnel with, that has a code of conduct like we do.
Right.
Well, there isn't.
But we do have details in there about what the expectations are.
And
That's why I'm trying to find this. Okay.
And we know that all members of any board or commission, serve at the pleasure of the city council.
Yeah. So there's.
That's exactly what I was looking for, Mayor, as I'm sitting here. Whether it's a statutory reference or whether you have a specific ordinance is what I'm looking to see what the city's ordinance is on it. And we'd be happy to provide you a report concerning that.
That'd be good.
So we've got all the normal stuff. There is a section on removal that I just saw.
But was it based on attendance?
So here's what removal says. It's, if you guys want to pull this up, it's, hold on. Section, ordinance number 2667, section 2, subsection K, removal. A majority of the governing body may remove any appointed planning commission member at any time for good and sufficient cause. Cause shall include, but not be limited to, any violation of any applicable law, regulation, or policy, neglect of duty, and failure to comply with the appointive body attendance policy. If such removal occurs, the vacancy shall be filled by mayoral appointment, subject to the approval of the council. So, it's vague. But, you know, it does say cause shall include but not be limited to, etc. So, really anything could go.
For cause actually has a particular and specific legal meaning, so I wouldn't necessarily term it vague. If there's significant misconduct unrelated to something posted on a personal website, unless that was obscene or sufficiently contrary to continued service, that's something we'd want to look at before we jumped on that. Conduct in a meeting, however, or conduct towards employees, placing the city in potential liability, those are separate questions and places to assess cause. And that's a discussion probably best had separately with council based on the information, where we can outline exactly what would and wouldn't be caused.
Okay. My question is, if a member of the city council is texted about a rumor that has to do with removal or shaking up of a department, and that individual then asks the question in a council meeting, is that considered cause? I'm just asking.
I am uncomfortable answering it without having the specifics in front of me, because I have to know specifically.
Yeah, I think there needs to be some due diligence. I mean, I think the points are made, but I think there needs to be due diligence before we continue down this path.
I did personally ask the question. I'm the one that got texted. However, I asked it on a budget concern, and the city administrator said no, it was a personnel issue. I didn't bring up the personnel issue per se. So I think we've resolved it here, and I don't, but I don't know. I think this all needs maybe some more investigation or more details maybe.
I guess because of what you just said, what would be the further information? What are we looking for, Chuck? What do we need to discuss? I mean, I don't know what else we're gonna talk about, because it doesn't sound like there's more information unless there's more.
I don't need to present any more, because we already know these are the things that I see that are a problem, and if we have an ordinance that says we can remove somebody if we have the votes, and I guess we need to vote. Because it's a commission, it's not, you know, it's.
To be clear, if your appointment and provision of authority to the planning commission, consistent with the laws of the statute, with the laws of the state of Kansas, under the authorities you give them, you have it's not serves at the pleasure of, rather it's may be removed for cause. Therefore, you would need to have a reason to remove the individual that was for cause. Now, looking at this post,
I don't think the Facebook is the thing. I think the personnel issue is the thing.
I was gonna say even more to the cause would be the not allowing a developer to speak in a meeting that you're there to vote on stuff for said developer.
I understand, and I think that may very well be sufficient for cause. The misconduct in terms of the commissioner's behavior toward staff or potential creation of potential liability towards the city is a much bigger issue. And from that perspective, could that be cause? Yes. Would I like to suss out that information rather than a public meeting telling you, yeah, that's definitely cause, move forward? Would I rather look at the specifications of what occurred and then give you a considered opinion? Yes.
Do we need an executive session?
No, I don't think we can do that in executive session.
What you can do in executive session is get a legal opinion with regard to what the law says. Not what you can do, not a policy decision you're gonna make, or not an action you're going to take.
Right.
Okay? Because a commission member doesn't fall under the
Correct.
non-elected personnel. Even though they're not elected, they're appointed but not an employee. In short, I can provide, or Ryan can provide, a legal opinion as to what the legal standards are for your consideration, answers questions with regard to that legal standards, any concerns that we would have related to those. Then you could address other matters in open session.
Okay.
I guess that's what
So
we'll
we're
do.
back to do we need to do that, or do we need to go into executive session to get a legal opinion?
I think that we should prepare something, gather the information, and then give you the executive session. That would be my recommendation.
Okay.
All right, is there consensus to do that?
That's fine.
Sure. Okay, we have consensus.
Awesome.
Anything else?
That's it.
All right. The only thing I had was, I was asked by a friend of the city to make a statement about the census. So the 2020 census is still going on in Gardner. The census complete count committee for Johnson County, which is being headed up by a citizen of Gardner, Mr. Steve Hay, is asking us all to census up and get your information out so that we can have a complete and accurate count of folks in the city of Gardner. So do your due diligence, do your best to get that done. Census takers, I think, are going to be going door to door pretty soon here, but the more that we can self-report, the better for everyone, and the less chance or risk of exposure for folks who are having to go door to door in the middle of a pandemic. Yes, sir.
Carry on, I'll just follow up with your comment.
Okay, that's all. Please.
I was just going to remind everybody to vote tomorrow. I believe the polls
Yes.
are open from 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening.
Yep.
Do your due diligence. Vote at the end of the day. I encourage everybody. I've put that on my political Facebook page and spoke to numerous people at gas stations and grocery store, and I just suggest everybody to vote.
Yep, I would heartily second your statement. It's our duty as people in a democratic society to go out and exercise our right as citizens. So please do that. Go out and vote. With that being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Melton, second Baldwin, that we adjourn. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, any abstentions? We are adjourned.
Did you need a picture for the paper?